We're dinking around with Eddie and Webby. Dinking around with Eddie and Webby tonight.
Oh, yeah.
Beer City Open season means limited edition Eddie and Webby koozie season. Aw, yeah. Oh, hey, how's it going? This is Webby, not Eddie.
And I'm Eddie, and this is our 70 seconds dinking around.
Aw, yeah, episode number 72.
That's right. And if you can see, my background's a little bit different because we are on our 7-week RV trip, currently in Nashville, Tennessee. But by the time you guys watch this, I'll have already made it into the state of Michigan where Webby is.
That's right. Things are about to heat up. Things are about to get real spicy because we're going to be reunited together once again soon.
Yes, we are. I'm excited for that. Just like I'm excited to be partnered with our friends over at Valere Pickleball. Guys, this podcast would not be possible without our friends over at Valere. Webby and I have been playing with their paddles before we even partnered up with them. Like my favorite paddle, the Mach 1 16 millimeter. It's perfect for my game because it's a great blend of power, spin, and touch. What about you, Webby?
I absolutely love the Mach 2 Forza. Has a huge sweet spot, has great spin, and excellent control. It is mwah.
Well, if you guys want to get your hands on some of these incredible pickleball paddles as well as other gear, just go to Valere.com, use coupon code PB for life to get what, Webby?
You're going to get yourself 10% off your order, and you're going to show us some support in the process.
Yes, absolutely. And again, thank you to our friends over at Valere Pickleball. Definitely check them out. And while you're doing that, Webby, I got to know what in the world is in that drink? What you got in that drink? That's right. It is summertime, which means it's hot outside. We like to quench our thirst. Webby, how are you going to be quenching your thirst for this episode?
Well, I am going to be quenching my thirst with something that I got while in Holland during the recent tournament that I talked about last week. I was at New Holland Brewing. This caught my eye. You might be interested in this too because it is a seltzer, and this is called Dragon's Share Original, and it is a bourbon barrel seltzer. It's bourbon whiskey with carbonation. So it sounded very interesting. I've never had this before, so this will be the first time I ever try it. So I'm very interested to see how it goes.
I like it, man. I would have never put seltzer with bourbon barrel before because when I think of seltzers, I kind of think of, light, refreshing. But I bet you it's probably delicious. What do you think about it?
Interesting. Wow. So it definitely has the taste of whiskey. So I feel like you got to be a whiskey fan, which I am. I got to be in the right mood for whiskey, but it definitely tastes like whiskey. It's not very strong as far as like the alcohol content. I think it's 4.6. So it's nice and light, but definitely has a taste of whiskey. I'm liking it though. This is very unique. I never would have thought about that either, but it caught my attention and I'm liking it.
Do you have any extras you can share with me when I come up to Michigan?
Unfortunately, I don't, but maybe I can get my hands on some before we see each other because I would be curious to see what you think about this, but I am curious about what you will be sipping on today.
Well, as we talked about before, this is Eddie's Summer of Seltzers. And I went to a couple different places in Nashville looking for something local from a seltzer perspective that I can drink, talk about. I think it'd be a fun thing to do as I'm going to all these places in Tennessee and Michigan, Ohio. But unfortunately, I couldn't find anything that was unique. So I went with the old Happy Dad hard seltzer. This is their wild cherry flavor.
Nice.
It's one of my favorites. I was actually turned on to Happy Dad from our friend Tanner Wallace, who you and I have both played in tournaments with, become friends with him over the years. And I've always liked it. This is my favorite flavor from them, wild cherry. I typically do like cherry flavored seltzers, and this doesn't disappoint. So cheers, my friend, and cheers to everybody out there.
Yeah, cheers, everybody. Going to be a very fun episode. And as we said last week, this is our last new episode before we take a couple of weeks off just because things are going to be very busy for us. We're going to be reuniting at the Beer City Open. It's going to be very exciting times.
That's right. Webby, after you're done taking that sip, it sounds like you might have a shout out you want to give.
I do. I want to give a shout out to Ari Wagner. He is the creator of the Score Pickleball app, and he recently collaborated with me. He organized an 8-person round robin event specifically to show me how the app that he created works. And it was very fun. It was a very high level group of players. In fact, I was definitely the lowest skilled player of the group, but I always love playing with high ranked people. But with the app, he was able to set up a league and then add people to the league. And it's really cool how it works because it keeps stats of everything and it helps organize everything and make things run smoothly. So right before we premiered this episode, a video just dropped on the Eddie and Webby YouTube channel. So you're going to want to check that out because it does seem like a really cool app. And he talks all about what the app does in the video. So I recommend checking that out.
That's great, man. I'm excited to check it out because I haven't even seen it yet. So I'm excited to see. I love that all these new apps are coming in to try and make pickleball more accessible, easier to plan, easier to coordinate. Anything that we can provide, I think, is good. So definitely ready to check that out.
Yeah, for sure. And he also lives near me. I always love to support people that are from Michigan. So very cool. I love to see it.
Nice. Well, I would love to know, what time is it?
Now it's time for Memes of the Week. Yeah!
That's right, Memes of the Week, Pickleball Podcast's hottest segment out there, where we bring you the best pickleball memes available. And Webby, I gotta know, man, what memes you got for us this week?
All right, I've got a couple for you today. This first one, it comes from an account on Instagram known as That's a Bad Idea. They actually aren't known for pickleball content, but they did make a pickleball video. And this one's on the older side, but it cracks me up every time I see it. And this is called When You Don't Understand Pickleball.
Let's fucking do this,
Hell
man.
yeah, man, let's go.
What the f?
Hope you're okay with Dill. Hut two. It's like I'm serving. What are you doing? Prime your face, let's go.
What are you doing?
I thought we were playing pickleball.
Oh, it gets me every time. I love it.
Did he say prime your face?
Yeah.
What? I didn't know if he said prime or brine. I'm like, what is happening right now? That's hilarious, though. Yeah, that was good.
But it's funny because, like, when you first tell somebody that you're playing a sport called pickleball, if you aren't familiar with it, like I remember, I think back to like 8 years ago, it might have been 9 years ago now when you first told me about pickleball. First off, I thought you were just making it up. And then, like, just the image that pops into my head, I feel like it was very close to what they did in that video. It's like, what? Pickleball? What the hell is pickleball?
Oh my God.
I feel like that's a good description for somebody who would try to describe it without knowing what pickleball is.
Oh yeah, there's got to be a pickle involved for sure in there somewhere.
Yeah.
That's what I would have thought. But that's great. That was a good one, Webby. Good job.
Thank you. I love that. Great job. That's a bad idea. But since that was a quick one, I wanted to do another one. This one comes from the fine folks at The Stiff Dink, and this is called When You See Your Partner Dink Instead of Driving Each Ball.
You're learning so many important things, and I'm so proud of you.
Oh, that's so good. That's like a perfect meme, something just like that. Like that's like I feel like that's the definition of a meme, something like that.
It's so funny, Webby. I went and played at public courts here in Nashville, Mundy Park, for those that are familiar with the area, and there were a couple people that I wish they would have gotten to the point to where they would have stopped trying to drive every ball and actually dink, so I could say the same thing to them, because it was a bang fest from some of these players, man.
Yeah. And it's funny because that's how it is a lot of times. If I go to an area that I don't normally play pickleball in, especially like if I go up north in northern Michigan, where there's not like a ton of super high level players. And when I show up and play, like I typically like to do the soft game and do a lot of dinking and stuff. And almost every time somebody thanks me and they're like, thank you for actually dinking. Like everybody around here just loves to slam the ball. And like I want to play with somebody that knows how to dink.
Well, if you're one of those people, learn how to dink, because I think it's going to help your game and it's going to make it way more fun for you than just banging the ball over and over again. Because eventually you're going to play against somebody that's just going to get out of the way every shot and you're going to be hitting it out of bounds.
Yeah, because that's the easiest way to win against them. You just, like you said, get out of the way. Move. Get out the way. Those were some good ones, but what do you got, Eddie?
This is great. This is from our friends over at Dink Different Pickleball. I don't know if I can call them friends yet because we technically haven't met them. I hope we do one day because they're great. But this is the proper form for throwing your paddle.
That's embarrassing. Dude, what are you doing?
What, I threw my paddle, so what?
I know, but if you're gonna throw your paddle, then you have to throw it right. There's none of this motion when we're throwing a paddle. What you need to do is turn your hips back, use your hips, and follow through like if you're throwing a baseball. Really push that elbow back. You want people to be afraid of their own safety on the court. Next time you miss a shot, I want to see that.
Okay.
Letting it fly.
Much better.
Still an ick.
It's so good.
Oh man, I love their videos. They have such good content.
I know it, and it seems like they're all just having fun out there, like playing pickleball and making videos. It sounds kind of like the dream job. If that could pay really well, then I say we just do that, Webby. What do you say?
Oh yeah, that would be like a dream scenario. Just make funny videos and get paid for it.
Yep. Another good one from our friends over at Dink Different Pickleball, which, yeah, as I said, we do want to meet you sometime, and maybe we can make some content together. That'd be fun.
Yeah, that'd be great. That video when he did the good throw, it reminded me of that video from back in the day. I think it was on Tyler Loong's YouTube channel, and he played the "I Believe I Can Fly" song.
It was Jeff Warnick at Nationals, and he just chalked his gearbox paddle, and that thing went multiple courts over.
I feel like that was before the day of memes, and that was just such a classic video too.
Yeah, I totally agree. That was great.
But those were our memes of the week. I absolutely love them. If you guys have memes that you want us to play, definitely send them our way, and we can review them on a future episode. But Eddie, it's time.
Now it's time for Topics of the Week.
That's right, Topics of the Week. This is where Eddie and I each bring a topic to discuss. And Eddie, I would like to start with you this week. What kind of topics do you want to discuss?
Well, Webby, I've been known to get a little frustrated playing pickleball, especially in tournament play. You seem to always be able to keep your cool, and I admire that. So kind of going back to the proper form of throwing your paddle from our last meme there, my question for you is, what is the appropriate way to deal with your frustration in pickleball? And I want it to be separate from rec play versus competitive play. And competitive play can be anywhere from tournaments to maybe a money match or a duper match, anything like that. What do you think is the appropriate thing to do? And what do you think is an inappropriate thing to do?
Like you said, I am good at containing my emotions and keeping it bottled up, but that's not really a good thing sometimes. Sometimes you do need to get it out. I feel like something that's worked for me is kind of getting more vocal when I play, just like trying to hype myself up. Like if I hit a good shot, just like really yell like, "Come on, let's go," something like that, or just trying to really like shake out like the nerves and the blah feeling and stuff like that. And that's one thing I like to do. Like if stuff is starting to build up and I'm just getting super, super frustrated. And sometimes I feel like it helps. Like if I just get like really energetic and then a little bit more vocal, like not in a bad way, like not like swearing at my opponent or anything like that, but just like being loud and a little more grunty when I hit the ball and stuff like that. It just little things like that. Cause it also kind of makes me laugh. Like I know you and I have done this before where we'll grunt with like every shot we hit just to be funny. But I feel like sometimes when we do that, it makes me loosen up and I feel like I do a little better. So, I mean, definitely do what you can to try to have fun in the moment. I know it can be tough when it comes to tournament play. And I need a lot of help when it comes to like my mental game, when it comes to tournaments and stuff like that. So if anybody has advice on how to get better at that, I am all ears. But in rec play, I don't really get too upset and stuff. So that's never really an issue for me. I don't know if I answered exactly what you were asking.
No, I think you nailed it right in the head, right? Because I agree with you. I do think that there's a balance between being too emotional and then not showing any emotion at all. Obviously, if you're getting frustrated out on the court, you need to be able to find a healthy way to be able to get rid of that. And whether that is joking around or maybe hyping yourself up. I mean, God, how many times have you been at tournaments with Jay Hall Gizmo and he'll be 10 courts away and you can hear him pumping himself up, right? That's his way to get into it with a let's go. Like that's his jam and it works for him. I think that I'm a little bit more like you where I kind of want to make jokes. I don't want to take ourselves too seriously and realize that this is just a sport. We're just hitting a ball back and forth to each other. Whether we win or lose, it doesn't mean that we're going to die, even though our subconscious doesn't realize that because we go into fight or flight mode where it's literally survival. I think it's good to remind yourself of that. But I've thrown my paddle a few times. Hell, at one of the first tournaments I played at Bonita Springs YMCA, pretty shortly after I started to work with Simone, she was watching our match, and it was match point. We were down by only a couple points, and our opponents lobbed me, and it went just over my head. And when I looked up, I looked right into the light, and it frustrated me so much that I chucked my paddle. Now, luckily, nobody else was on the court, but I didn't feel good about myself after, right? Like if you got to that point to where you threw your paddle, like, are you going to feel good or are you going to feel bad about yourself?
Yeah, probably not going to feel great.
I didn't. And, again, I've done that after we were playing an Eddie versus Webby match in Grand Rapids. And I remember I got pissed and I chucked my paddle up against the fence because I was playing so bad. So I think that for me, what I like to do is just really just tell myself like, dude, everything's fine. It's all good. You know what to do. You're prepared. And then just kind of laugh about it because we're all just a bunch of monkeys running around on a court hitting wiffle balls at each other. So we can't take it too seriously,
Yeah. And I know you asked me about like what I think a bad thing to do in that situation is, and I do think throwing the paddle is probably one of the worst things just because it could have a really bad result because if somebody is near you or if it bounces and like hits somebody, bad things could happen from throwing the paddle. And I'm actually surprised I never have thrown a paddle because I am kind of a thrower. When I play video games, I have broken so many controllers just because I chuck them across the room. Or it's just I am definitely a thrower when I get frustrated. And somehow I have avoided throwing my paddle all these years of playing pickleball. I don't know how. Sometimes what I'll do is like I'll take the motion like I'm acting like I'm going to throw it, but I don't actually throw it. And that does kind of help because like just that motion of doing it helps. But I've actually seen people like kind of duck when they see me doing that because they think I'm going to throw it. And that actually kind of made me feel bad too, just because even though I didn't actually throw it, the fact that I scared them into thinking I didn't feel great.
Well, look at Ariel Butler last year at the Gamma Classic, right? She meant to just like take her paddle and like pretend like she was throwing it on the ground and that thing hit and it bounced and it almost hit the referee. So you're right. Yeah. Even by pretending to do it, if you let go of that paddle, that could go flying. We've seen it at pro matches. I think it was DJ Young. He threw it on the ground and ended up going into the stand. So I think throwing your paddle is bad. We can all agree there. But what about people that get really frustrated during rec play? And I'm not talking about, you're up at the courts with your buddies and you have something at stake in the match, like it's a duper event, you're all throwing $20 in. I'm just talking about going up and playing recreationally. When people get frustrated there, what's your take on it?
I just don't get it. I don't get why people get so upset, and I experience that all the time. And one experience that really stands out to me, a repeated experience, is when I used to play at these indoor courts. Well, it was a indoor gymnasium at a community center. They didn't even have permanent lines. It was just taped lines, temporary nets. And there was this one guy that took it so seriously. He would roll his eyes and he would like verbally huff and puff if you messed up, if you were on his team. And it got to the point where I started finding it humorous, but at first it was kind of making me mad at the fact that he would take it so seriously. But he literally, like, he would groan and huff and puff and like make noises and make his partner know that he was mad that they messed up, even though he messed up a lot too. It's not like he was a great player, but anytime his partner messed up, he made sure to make it well known that he was not happy.
I mean, come on, man. Like, what are you doing? Why are you getting mad during rec play? We're out there just having fun. Like, who cares, winning or losing? It's just, we're out there having a good time. So yeah, I've been there too. I've seen people do that. I don't get it. It's not my thing, but I also there's probably people out there that don't understand why I would get frustrated during tournament play either and chuck a paddle. So I guess there's all stages of it, but that's our opinions. We want to know what you guys think. Number one, how do you deal with people that get frustrated? How do you deal with when you get frustrated? Should you throw a paddle? Should you not? And what do you do with the people in rec play that are frustrated and get really angry? What do you do?
Yeah, I would love to hear everybody's takes on how their experiences have been.
Yes, throw it down in the comments below. If you have a good story too, throw it down there. Maybe we can read it during one of our next podcasts. But Webby, that's my topic for the week. I want to know, what's your topic this week?
So my topic came about because of something that happened just this past week. I played drop-in pickleball at some outdoor courts at a couple different locations, and it was very busy at both locations. Both places had very different ways that they handled the paddle rotations. So I mainly want to know, what is the best method you have seen when you do public drop-in pickleball for doing paddle rotation or court rotation when it's really, really busy? Because I've seen some really bad methods that have just caused nothing but chaos. And then everybody tuning in, I would love to see comments like, what do you think is the best way to handle that when there's really busy drop-in pickleball time at public courts? Because that seems to be a hot topic around here, and people seem to hate some methods but love others, and then others can find a flaw in pretty much every method. So I'm just curious, like, what's the best method you have seen when it comes to that kind of thing?
So outside of using technology, which I do think will likely be the best method, and I do know that there are some courts out there where you can use technology, where you use your phone to like check in and know where you're at and stuff like that. I would say that probably the best setup would be what they have, or what I've experienced over at East Naples when they're busy. So when all the courts are full, they have whiteboards with squares all over them. And basically, you put your name in the square, and once your team goes out, there's somebody at the board, and they draw a line through it to know that they're out there. And then once you're done and you come off and you want to get back on the list again, you can throw your name on there. I like it for two reasons. Number one, I don't love just like having my paddle sitting somewhere in the areas where they make you like put your paddle down, and that's how you determine the rotation of it. Number two, in those situations where you have to put your paddle somewhere to say, I want to be this place in line, but maybe I'm there with, let's say you and I are about to play a tournament together, and you and I want to play together, and maybe the court before us has 3 people already signed up. Well, I don't think I should be forced to have to be that fourth person if there's plenty of other people available. So using the whiteboard system, we could just go to the next box and write both of our names there. And then as soon as you have another single person, they can come in and fill in for that fourth spot in front of us. So that's kind of why I like that system. Now, I will tell you that I've also played in areas where it's based on skill level, and there's also kind of the king of the court format where if you win, you stay. And I think that starts to add some complication as well that maybe we can get into a little bit. But that's my take on the best system that I've experienced out there.
Yeah, I like that. I have not experienced that particular method, but that actually sounds really good. And I am in a local chat group for pickleball communities nearby to organize gameplay and stuff like that. And some people did mention how when they have played in East Naples, they mentioned the whiteboard method, and I wasn't familiar with it, so I didn't totally know what exactly they were talking about. So I like the fact that you were able to describe what that is, and that actually sounds really good. I think I would like that approach. I've never seen that in action, so I would like to do that sometime.
What I will tell you, there is one downside to that, Webby, that I think is important to add right now, and that is somebody has to be running it. Whether it's a volunteer, whether it's somebody that actually works for East Naples Community Park at the Pickleball Pro Shop, or it's just, people that are kind of taking charge, somebody has to really be managing the board. You can't just let it be a free-for-all.
Okay. And that makes a lot of sense. And I've actually said that numerous times. Every place I've ever played, I've said we kind of need a designated person to like make sure the house rules are being followed, because that's the problem is new people maybe from out of town or somebody that's new to pickleball, they'll show up, not know what to do. And if it's not clearly posted anywhere, it makes sense why confusion happens. And then some people are like, oh, no, you're supposed to do this.
Right.
And people are like, oh, no, you're supposed to do this. But why do I have to do that? It doesn't say I have to do that and stuff like that. So That's one thing that I think is a big problem in places. If there's not like clear signage anywhere that shows what the house rules are, you're going to have problems.
Mm-hmm.
So I play at Freedom Park in Canton, Michigan quite a bit. And what they do is they have 6 courts. 3 of them are designated for beginner to intermediate, and 3 of them are for more advanced players. And they have a paddle rack, so you put your paddles in, and it just goes in order. If it's not too busy, they do the approach to where the winning team, they will stay on, and then the losing team comes off. And then the winning team, they have to split up. That way there's not like one team that just keeps dominating the whole day. So the winning team, they can stay on the court, but they have to split up sides and play on opposite teams, and then 2 new people come on. But the rule is if you play twice in a row, then you're supposed to sit. That way, like, people just aren't, if you're a really good player, you just can't dominate and just stay out the whole time without taking breaks. So for the most part, I like that. And I do like that it rewards you for winning. However, when it gets busy, like really busy, if there's more than 7 paddles waiting, then they do 4 off, 4 on, which I think is smart because it'll take way too long to get on the court if the winners always stay.
What if they have a challenge court, though, where it's like one of them is that style of play where if you win, you stay, maybe you split, maybe you don't, but at least that kind of concept. Would you be okay if one of the 6 courts was the challenge court for that?
I would. I like challenge courts. The only place nearby that I know of that has a challenge court is the Hawk in Farmington Hills. And I like that approach. I like having one designated court to where like, okay, the winners, they get to stay together, and challengers can come and challenge them and stuff like that. I really like that approach. Now with 6 courts, though, I feel like that might not be enough to designate one for a challenge court just because this place gets so busy. The Hawk, they have 10 courts, so that makes sense for them to have one designated just for the challenge court system. But I do like that one that is an option at places. Now, I just played there. I played at Freedom Park, the place with the 6 courts with the paddle stacking thing that I was mentioning, and we had an issue where they were so busy that the paddle rack got completely full, and then that caused confusion because people didn't know, okay, well, where do I put my paddle now? So some people were like, we'll just put your paddle in between these 2 paddles, and then we'll know that's the one that comes next. But then some people were stacking them like next to the paddle rack, and it was like, well, how do we know where these stacked paddles go?
Yeah.
And it's just a mess. And what they do, like, so you don't have to just keep moving paddles from one side of the rack to the others, they have like a marker. So you, like, when the 4 paddles go out, you just move the marker to show which 4 are next. So that works totally fine as long as the paddle rack doesn't get full.
Right.
But the paddle rack got full, and it was just chaos, and people were arguing about who was next. And then some people wanted to play with certain people, like there was a foursome, and that really throws things off. And so to me, that's not a great thing for handling really busy courts. Now, I played at the Richardson Center in Commerce Township, Michigan last week, and they had a method that I hadn't seen before that I actually liked. And they have a paddle rack that's marked beginner, a paddle rack that's marked intermediate, and a paddle rack that's marked advanced. And then you put your paddle wherever you belong, and that's a whole honor system. That's a whole nother issue, like whether people are honest about which skill group they should be in, but I feel like that's a whole nother topic. But anyway, if people put their paddles where they're supposed to go as far as skill level, the way they do it, this place has 8 courts, by the way, and all the courts are used by all skill levels. It doesn't matter which skill level you are. Just as soon as a court opens up, somebody goes out. So let's say there's a marker showing that the beginner paddle rack is next. As soon as the court opens up, the next 4 beginner paddles, they all go out, and then somebody moves the marker over to the intermediate rack, and then the next court that opens up, it is now time for the intermediate players to go out, and then they move their marker over to the advanced, and so on. Rinse, repeat. And that worked pretty well because things moved quickly. As soon as the court opened up, the next group went out, moved the marker, and so on. And I actually liked that quite a bit. It moved along. I played a couple more games than I thought I was going to that day just because things moved a lot quicker than I thought they would with how many people they had, because they had a lot. Now, the one issue with that was the beginner rack didn't have that many paddles in it. The advanced rack had a ton of paddles. So at first, it was almost not fair because the same 4 beginners, they kept going out every 3 games.
Yeah, I would just keep throwing it in beginner.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what people started doing, where they were like, well, hey, let's just put our paddles over here. Nobody's going to know.
Nobody's going to know.
Yeah, but for me, like, my conscience is just like, that's not really the right thing to do. I'm not going to do that. And then like, what if like my paddle is next to some legit beginners? Like, what if there's like 3 of us advanced, but then 1 beginner filled up that 4th spot?
Just keep driving at them as hard as you can, over and over again.
Right.
They'll
So
learn.
that's the flaw with that system is like people could take advantage of the system by putting their paddle in the wrong skill level, or one skill level could just keep playing like every few games while all the advanced players are like waiting much longer. But what they did start doing before I left is because the advanced rack was so full, they did it to where advanced would have 2 people go out. Like the next 2 courts that opened up would be for advanced. Then the marker got moved to beginner, and that was fair. But then there were people that were like, "Oh, that's not fair. That was already on advanced. That should go to beginner." So then you have the people that were like arguing about like why does advanced get to go twice in a row, even though like you can see all these extra paddles and stuff like that. So I feel like no matter what, when you have a paddle rack or paddle stacking, you're gonna have people that are gonna complain about how it goes. But if people do the right thing and put the paddles where they're supposed to, and if they do it to where the one with tons of paddles gets to go twice in a row, to me that was actually pretty good. It works smoothly. That is the smoothest method I have personally seen so far.
Yeah, I could see that working. I still think that even after you've kind of shared some of your experiences, I do believe that the whiteboard method still would be the best, fairest, and easiest way to be able to manage it. But I do think that it's good that these places are trying to figure out, well, what's the fairest way to be able to get as many people through here as possible.
Yeah, and I do, like, based on what you said about the whiteboard approach, that does sound really good. I would love if places implemented that. But like you said, you need somebody to kind of run it and make sure things run smooth. But I feel like most places do have enough regulars to where I feel like they could maybe make sure just at least one of the regulars is there to make sure things work as they're supposed to.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, those are our topics for the week. I would love to know what all of you tuning in have to say about what we discussed, especially the paddle rack system. I would love to know if anybody has any better suggestions other than what Eddie and I talked about for making it nice and smooth when it's busy drop-in pickleball time.
That's right. Throw it down in the comments below. Also, let us know if there's any topics that you want us to be able to discuss, share our opinions on. But again, we want to know what you guys think, because you are the reason that pickleball exists, and we're just 2 dumbasses that have a podcast, and that's pretty much the bottom line about it. But I do want to be able to talk about our good friends over at Jigsaw Health. Webby, how do you like to stay hydrated when you play pickleball?
What I love to do is drink a bottle of water mixed with Electrolyte Supreme. My favorite flavor is fruit punch. I like to drink one when I first start playing, and then I like to drink another bottle of the mixture when I'm done playing, and that helps big time when it comes to staying hydrated.
Well, Webby, I love pickleball cocktail too. Their blue raspberry flavor is my favorite. It's so good. But Jigsaw Health has plenty of other products as well that I take on a daily basis that make me feel good. Because at Jigsaw Health, it's fun to feel good. And you know what else feels good is getting $10 off your order by using coupon code what, Webby?
PB for Life 10.
That's going to give you $10 off of anything you order at jigsawhealth.com. It's also going to help support us, and it's going to help support a company that's obsessed with pickleball, so much so that they created an indoor venue in Scottsdale, Arizona called The Orchard at Jigsaw Health, where they host the Arizona Pickleball League, which is a professional league that they put on. And they actually filmed a documentary about it called Breaking Pickleball. They love pickleball as much as we do. Check them out, jigsawhealth.com. Coupon code PB for Life 10 to get $10 off your order. And guess what? You're going to love the products you get. They make me feel good. They're going to make you feel good as well.
And they do make me feel good. But something else that makes me feel good is finding out Eddie's
Closing thoughts.
So what did we learn today? Well, we learned that people that don't really know what pickleball is can kind of come up with some wild ideas about it. And I got to be honest, when I first heard the term pickleball, I had no idea what it was either. We also learned that Mr. Rogers is going to congratulate you and be proud of you if you stop banging the ball over and over again and maybe just learn how to dink. We also learned the proper technique to throw your pickleball paddle, but we also talked about whether you should or should not throw your pickleball paddle, or how you should express frustration on the court, or maybe just keep it to yourself, especially during rec play. And we also discussed some of the many ways that pickleball facilities are using a fair system for knowing who's going to play up on the court next. Well, that was the episode tonight. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. As we mentioned before, Webby and I are going to be taking a couple weeks off from the podcast because we got a ton of great stuff coming up, especially surrounding the Beer City Open, where Webby and I both will be at, as well as Close Call Replay. We're going to be doing line challenges for 2 Major League Pickleball courts there. Webby's going to be joining up in the crew. I'm super excited about that as well. So if you guys are at Beer City Open, come by, say hello. We'd love to talk to you.
That's right. We have so many exciting things coming up. I'm super excited about the Beer City Open, and you guys can definitely expect some great content coming up in the very near future.
That's right. And on that note, I'm Eddie.
And until next time, this is Webby, not Eddie, signing off.
See ya.
Well, we're dinking around with Eddie and Webby. Dinking around with Eddie and Webby tonight.
Oh yeah.